I've had men, husbands, fathers, look at me in discussion and say that if their wife's life was being threatened, someone was about to deal a lethal blow to their wife, and it was the only thing that they could do to save the life of their wife is to shoot at the individual and to possibly take their life. And I've had these men say to me, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't pull the trigger. I asked them, why not? Well, I don't think I could live with myself knowing that I took the life of someone. You could live with yourself knowing that you let someone take the life of your wife? One thing that I just do not understand about a lot of Christians today, and I don't care what your denomination is, there are a lot of Christians in the world today who've come to this point, this attitude, this way of thinking, this mentality, that if they're under some sort of attack, some sort of threat from a bad guy, maybe they're in a parking lot, they get jumped, attacked, maybe someone breaks into their home, maybe even their loved ones are being threatened in some way. There are a lot of Christians out there that will not fight back. They don't think they should. I find that amazing that Christians have reached this point that some, not all, but some, believe that it's okay to let an attack take place without resisting. It baffles the mind. Now, I realize when it comes to a firearm, that's a different situation for some people. Not everybody's comfortable carrying a firearm. I get that. All right, that's a big decision. You should be of sound mind, law-abiding. Of course, you have everything working inside, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. All that should be in place before you carry a firearm. There's nothing wrong with having a firearm on you, by the way. It's not something that God is opposed to. There are people out there, and I see this on the internet, and I talk to people around the country who just say, no matter what, no, it's an evil thing. Guns are evil. No, they're not. And this is not a gun debate video. This is looking at a Christian's responsibility, a duty to be ready to defend. It's a right and it's a duty for a Christian to protect and defend him or herself, and especially their loved ones, those who have been entrusted to their care. This is a debate and a discussion I know that's going on in a lot of areas, especially lately with this push for more gun control in America. And we're seeing the problems in places like Europe, where now they're going after knives. They want to ban knives. They're pushing these things all over the place. This is a big problem, and it's not the instrument. It's not the knife. It's not the firearm. It's not the rock that Cain used to kill Abel. It was what was in Cain's heart. And it's what's in the heart of the person who today has a knife or a firearm. But when Christians say, no, we're not supposed to fight back, this is a crazy way of thinking. I can't even tell you. There are men out there in particular who will not fight for their loved ones. They won't fight to protect themselves. They won't fight for their loved ones. They just think any kind of defense, firearm or physical hand-to-hand defense, is wrong. How did we get here? The history of Christianity is filled with armies fighting to defend the church, fighting to defend it. Look at the history of Catholicism, for example. As a Catholic, I can tell you, I've studied this for years. Let's go back to just a couple of key battles in particular. 1565, the Siege of Malta, where you had up to 50,000 Muslim Turks attacking the island of Malta. And it was held by 800 knights of St. John, or the Knights of Malta. And you had about 7,000 militia made up of Spanish and Maltese. And they held this island for 5 or 6 months. Half the knights died. These were men, by the way. These were warrior monks. They consecrated their lives to God, and they trained for battle. They gave their lives to God. They were faithful, strong warriors, and they trained for battle. They knew how to fight. This is one historical account, and it protected Christianity throughout all of Europe. 1683, the Siege of Vienna. King John Sobieski III led up to 60,000 cavalry down the hill into an encampment of up to 300,000 Muslim Turks who laid siege to Vienna, where they were killing and they were raping, and they were slaughtering. And these Catholic warriors rode into this battle, and they defended and protected, and they won the battle. The Battle of Lepanto in 1571, where Pope St. Pius V, a saint, by the way, called Don Juan of Austria to raise up an army that went into battle, this major naval battle in 1571, and defeated, again, Muslim Turks. Imagine that. Track record there, huh? What you see, though, is, again, God using men to do battle to protect innocent life. This is something that the Catholic Church teaches. So for all of you out there who might think, oh, no, God would never want us to do this, and my interpretation of what is right and wrong on this is what goes. That's what stands. You're missing what the church teaches. Paragraph 2263, 2264, and 2265 in the Catechism of the Catholic Church state very clearly the moral legitimacy and the right, the duty, in fact, the moral duty to protect and defend, grave duty is what it states in 2265. Grave duty to protect and defend, even if it means to take up arms against an aggressor. We have a grave duty to protect and defend, especially those that have been trusted to our care. We have the right to protect ourselves. We have the right to defend ourselves, as St. Thomas Aquinas, which is quoted, footnote, in the Catechism. We have the right to defend ourselves and protect ourselves and take care of our lives. Even Pope St. John Paul II writes about this in the Gospel of Life, where he speaks clearly, quoting paragraph 2265 in the Catechism. And the need for us to take this seriously is important for our times today. Like, I have a wife and I have children, and I have a responsibility to put a roof over their head, food on the table, make sure that they're safe and protected in every way. Spiritually speaking, 24/7, 365, that's my job. But physically, I need to be ready to protect them and defend them as well. And in order for me to be able to do that, I have to have some idea what I'm doing. I have to have some sort of training, if you will, some basic training in fighting technique, basic self-defense, firearm training, something or all of it that gives me a fighting chance to protect my family. I mean, think about this, especially for you men out there. How many of you men out there would be okay with a fire breaking out in your house and you have no idea how to get your family out? Let's say a fire breaks out in your house and you don't have batteries in the smoke detectors. You don't have a fire extinguisher in your house. So you got no way to fight the fire, and you got no way to know that the fire is breaking out and your family's at risk. The responsibility we men have to make sure that these things are in place so that our family has a chance to escape safely, to save their lives. Same concept, same idea. Someone breaks in the house. Do we have a plan? Do we have an idea? And I've talked about this all over the country for years. I've talked about it at men's conferences, at family events, at battle-ready rallies, parish missions. I've talked to men, women, children, all over this country and outside this country. And I've brought these subjects up regularly. And I've asked groups of men all over the place, would you fight for your family? Oh yeah, I'd fight for my family. And I think any good man would. Any good man would fight for his family. So you ask, would you fight for your family? Yeah, I'd fight for my family. Some of you are thinking that right now. Yeah, you bet I'd fight for him. Would you die for your family? Oh yeah, I'd die for my family. Yeah, but the goal here is to what? Not die. The goal is to not die. The goal is to know how to fight, have some idea, to gain the advantage over a bad guy, over an attacker in some way so that you can survive. Because once you're dead, your family is far more susceptible to the attack of the enemy. So while it may look heroic and sound heroic to be willing to die for your family, the goal is to not die. The goal is to have some idea what to do so you can survive it, so you can subdue the aggressor, subdue the attacker, and protect your family. That's the goal. That takes a couple of things. Number one, the mind has to start accepting the reality that we live in a world where there is evil. And the evil in this world manifests in physical form, oftentimes in hurting people. Think about what we're seeing in the world today. And I'm not talking about just mass shootings, although that is an obvious reason to have some idea what to do. I'm not talking about shootings that take place in churches, although that's happening more. I'm not talking about those types of things. I'm talking about the fact that there's a home invasion in America on average every 13 seconds. I'm talking about the fact that a woman in America is attacked on average every 2 minutes or less. I'm talking about the responsibility that we have, especially as men, to protect our families, to have some idea what to do, and to train them, to teach them. Now, you don't have to be Bruce Lee. You don't have to be some ninja warrior to protect your family, to have some idea. The goal, though, is to change the mindset, number one, and then two, start preparing physically in some way, just like you would do if you had the idea that there might be a fire in your house. Well, we should make sure we get smoke detectors that are working. But we have to get past this idea that a Christian should not lift a finger in defense against the bad guy. It simply is not true. It's not accurate. So when it comes to self-defense, we have to understand a couple things. Number one, that it is not offensive to God for us to want to defend and protect ourselves and protect our loved ones. In fact, it's a grave duty to protect those under our care. And number two, if we're going to be successful in defending ourselves and defending others, especially our loved ones, then we have to have an idea what we're doing, which means we have to prepare, we have to train, we have to educate ourselves, we have to practice. Right? You don't get good at something by not doing it. And you can't just sit back and say, oh, don't mess with me because I got that fight inside me. You know that saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. Well, I get that, and that works to a point. But it's a lot better if there's a lot of fight inside that dog and that dog knows how to fight. And I got to say, this is not about violence, right? In fact, if you're trained, if you have some idea of basic self-defense, situational awareness, if you've been trained in firearms, for example, if you have training in these types of areas and in these ways, you have a better chance of avoiding violence, diffusing situations that could become violent, right? This is where a lot of people misunderstand that. If you're trained in this stuff, you've got a good chance of being able to avoid it. But if it does come upon you, if it is allowed in some way to come upon you, some way, shape, or form, or your loved ones or someone else out there that you got to protect and defend, you're going to have a better idea, a better chance, okay, of surviving it. Now, there's a lot more on this subject I could get into, and I will be doing more videos on this in the future. But I want you to go out to our website, battlereadystrong.com, and check out our new ebook. You can download it there on battlereadystrong.com. It's called The Duty of Self-Defense. It covers the scripture, the paragraphs of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, some of the historical accounts, and more. Much, much more. It gives you some ideas and get you moving in the right direction. The Duty of Self-Defense, you can get it again at battlereadystrong.com. This is important stuff. I have to encourage you, get into this a little more. Learn about these things. You have a life to protect and defend that God has given you. You have a right and a duty to protect yourself. You have to have an idea what to do. And you have a duty, responsibility to protect others that have been entrusted to your care. You have to have an idea what to do. We don't want to be the victim. And we definitely don't want our loved ones to be the victim either. But we have to have an idea what we're doing. We have to accept it first, that this is a reality and a responsibility and a grave duty that we do protect and defend. And then we have to have an idea how to do that. This just makes sense. We have to get the idea out of our heads, out of our minds, that if we're under attack, someone's trying to hurt us or someone's trying to hurt our loved ones, that it's wrong to fight back. It is not wrong to fight back, to protect and defend. Don't forget to check out our ebook again, The Duty of Self-Defense. You can download it at battlereadystrong.com. Also, subscribe to this channel. There's a lot more content like this and other stuff coming out. And follow me on Facebook if you like, Doug Barry on Facebook. Appreciate you being with me, and we'll talk to you again soon.